Senator Rich Draheim is the chair of the Senate Housing Committee, and I spoke with him for his perspective on the challenges impacting access to affordable housing. Let's begin with rent control, which was passed by the voters in Minneapolis and St. Paul in the last election. In Minneapolis, city leaders will develop a plan to stabilize rents. However, in St. Paul, the voters there approved a measure that caps rental increases at 3%, which some news outlets are calling the strictest in the nation. It's also prompted some St. Paul developers to halt projects. What is your view on this?
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for talking about housing, something that I've been passionate about 5 years I've served. As far as rent control, I did carry a bill trying to close the loophole. Right now, we have a loophole in the state of Minnesota that allows cities to petition more or less, or put it on the ballot to vote for rent control. That's the only way you can do rent control in Minnesota. Rent control is probably the most studied aspect of housing, not only in our country, but in the world. And most economists feel that it is the worst thing you can do for housing supply issues, for housing in general. It is a Band-Aid approach to a bigger problem. And it is a problem that we've been trying to fix for 5 years. And unfortunately, we've been blocked by 2 governors on trying to move forward with some solutions on the housing crisis that we are facing here in Minnesota.
Well, and I guess with rent control, then it potentially does stymie development, and part of the problem is that there is a lack of housing. Is that right?
Correct. So what normally happens in an environment where you impose rent control, you have less development, less new housing units. Call them, or apartments in this case. So, and that's exactly what we've seen in the short time that this is passed in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Is there's been quite a few public comments in the paper and the media and press releases of big corporations pulling out of building new developments or even halting current projects. And that's exactly what one would expect with this type of legislation in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And that's what's happening. And that will reduce the number of apartment units, which will artificially keep everything else really high. And it really won't go to the underlying problem is we don't have enough housing.
As you know, one factor attributed to the rise in housing prices is the fact that out-of-state corporations are coming in and buying what would be a starter home for a new home buyer, but buying up those homes, multiple homes, to either flip them into rental homes or, well, actually to make them rental homes or to flip them and then resell them. Is there a legislative solution to this?
Oh, that's a good question. And we have talked kind of offline about that. Senator Dick and myself have both expressed interest in kind of digging deeper into that and seeing if we can come up with a solution. So at the end of last session, we both kind of agreed that we thought that'd be a great topic to have a hearing on and try to see if we can find something to help that situation. I know a lot of communities, especially college communities, have restrictions on how many rental units you can have. And when you look at like Northeast Minneapolis, I think it is, has majority of the homes are rentals. So if you saved up enough money, you built up your credit and you wanted to buy a home, the chances of you finding a home to even purchase are very slim. So what can we do as a state legislative body to help protect the availability of some of the houses, but yet still maintain kind of a free market is a balancing act. But we have to look into it. We have to examine, is this really a big problem in Minnesota? I personally have seen emails from corporations wanting to buy literally hundreds of homes in the metro area. That's very scary for that young family to start out.
Last year, the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis published a report called Systemic Racism Haunts Homeownership in Minnesota. The disparities between white homeowners and homeowners who are people of color and indigenous people is, according to this report, the fourth largest in the nation. I know this is important to you because you brought it up on the Senate floor last year. Are you looking for ways to address this?
And I have the last 5 years, we've tried to come up with solutions. I truly believe one of our basic functions as a state, it should be basic education for our kids, a career path job. What can we do to get people on a career path job? And then the last piece of the American puzzle is a pathway to homeownership. And that's what we've been trying to work on. It is a great equalizer. And this last year was the first year in Minnesota's history we actually had bonding money for home ownership. So our focus of our state agency for housing has been on rental and not home ownership. And I think that has magnified, especially some areas in the Minneapolis St. Paul area, which is the worst by most counts in the country. The state overall is usually ranked 4th or 5th worst state, but the metro is usually ranked number 1 in the whole country, which is awful. And that means we're giving a lot of people, or we're not giving a lot of people, the option to build wealth. And we do a lot of great things here in Minnesota, but that's one thing that we haven't done very well, and we need to fix that. And I think we've had a lot of solutions to try to do that. Unfortunately, we haven't got the other side of the aisle to come along with us, but I think this year will be the year to do that. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of time to get people to see your perspective, and there's things we agree on and not agree on. But government was the problem when redlining started, which was one of the causes of this. It was the big banks and government working together to block people from being able to buy a home. So right now, I think government is part of the problem. And that's the want to build more apartments instead of houses. It costs us 2 or 3 times the amount to build an apartment from a government standpoint versus a free market. And when we're spending, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you mentioned bonding just a moment ago, and Governor Walz announced his bonding plan for the coming legislative session. What's pertinent to this conversation is that he'd like to put $450 million into affordable housing projects and $250 million in housing infrastructure bonds. And the legislature is also looking at an $8 billion surplus. So you said that, bonding for home ownership is important to you. But are these numbers close? Is this something that state dollars should go towards?
It dabbles in the details, and we have to look and see what the uses will be for these bonds. But housing bonds aren't that cheap. So the debt service for the first year is 4%, is what the state's been charging us to do these bonds, and then 8% for year 2 through 20. 8%. That is not very cheap. So I am pushing, if we are going to do quote unquote bonding bills, we do cash bills and spend some of that cash. The dollar amounts will be figured out with leadership way above my pay grade. But I will be pushing for, if we do have the resources and we don't give some of that back, which I think we should, that we spend cash on it instead of borrowing. The housing bonds are not inexpensive. They are the highest cost bond that we have here. And we have done more bonding for housing in the last 5 years than we have in any other period in time, probably more than the last 20 years. So we've been very big supporters of housing bonds, but the system can only handle so much. And I think this is probably more than the system can handle.
Senator Rich Draheim, I want to thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.